Hello and welcome to the Wyoming Tribune Eagle editorial board's interviews with the candidates for Wyoming governor who have challengers in the August 21st primary. I'm Brian Martin, the newspaper's managing editor, and we're here today with Ken Casner, Democratic candidate for governor. Thank you, Mr. Casner, for your candidacy and for agreeing to participate today.
You're welcome. Pleasure to be here.
We're joined here today in the room by Rachel Martinez and Bob Peck, both community representatives on the WTE editorial board, and also Katie Cull, a member of our reporting team who will be monitoring the Facebook Live feed and curating questions from our online audience for questioning toward the end of our hour together.
Okay.
Before we launch into questions, just a few reminders. Because these interviews are being live streamed, we have provided the editorial board's questions to the candidates in advance so that no one was at a disadvantage for interviewing early in the process. Also, we have asked the candidates to try to limit their answers to each question to 2 minutes in order to get to as many topics as possible and allow time for questions from our online audience. This isn't an award show though, so we'll be watching the time. We have somebody to signal to you, Mr. Casner, when we hit 2 minutes, but again, you don't have to just completely cut off your answer. Go ahead and wrap that up and then we'll move on to the next question.
Okay.
Finally, in addition to helping Wyoming voters decide who will get their vote later this summer, these interviews will be the basis of the editorial board's recommendations and both the Republican and Democratic primaries, and we'll write editorials and have those in about the mid-July time frame.
Okay.
That's it for now, so if you're ready, Mr. Casner, we'll get started.
Let's get started.
All right, so please start out by giving us 2 minutes about yourself and your background.
Myself. I was born in Cheyenne, Wyoming, in DePaul Hospital, 1950. I'm 67 years old today. I was raised in a common folk home. My dad worked at Frontier Oil Refinery, passed away when I was 19 years of age. I married a local gal. Her name's Nancy Sue Williams. We've been married for 45 years. We have 2 children, Paul and Joy. We have 3 grandchildren, 2 boys and a little granddaughter. She's the oldest, and she's kind of like going to be graduating before too long. It's fast how they grow up so fast. After that, I went to college for 1 year at Casper College. I kind of got wildlife management on the other side, so I didn't quite fulfill that obligation. However, after that, I went into the United States military. I went one tour in Vietnam, 1970 through 71. After that, I came back. I came to a unique period in Wyoming because Wyoming was getting new aircraft and new things, and so I actually walked into a job with the Wyoming Army National Guard. I stayed 23 more years for a total service of 27 years in the military. At the 27-year mark, I decided I want to change, so I left. I resigned. And the reason I did that was because I wanted to see something else in my life, because you know, in the military, they always say, yours is not the reason why, yours is but to do or die. Well, I decided I wanted to see something different. So I went and I moved in 1998 to Elk Mountain, Wyoming, 110 miles west. Fine new guy, walked in with no business experience. We looked for a house at first, but we found this beautiful store named the Elk Mountain Trading Company. We walked into that baby and we pretty much got to listen.
Mr. Casner, why do you want the governor's job?
I'm not here for a job. I'm here for an interview. And the interview is to interview to the people of Wyoming the following thing. You've forgotten yourselves. We the people. I want to represent the people. I want to be their spokesman. That's all I want to do. And there, if you notice, I have a brown tie on. And it's brown and gold. The reason I wear a brown and gold tie is because I'm tired of us versus them. Wyoming people have got to realize they hold us accountable, not the other way around. I do not like the word govern. I hate it. I like the word representation. I want them to instill their trust in me, that I'll speak for them, because that's my job and that's what I want to do. And why am I still here? Why did I come all the way back here? Is because Ken Casner still cares for Wyoming.
How do you differentiate yourself from your challengers?
Oh boy, that's an easy one for me. In fact, I was just telling Rachel over here about it a little while ago. When I came out of the campaign in 2002, I went in there. Everybody said, "Why are you going, Mr. Casner, to the top of the totem pole?" And I said, because I want to learn from the top down. So I did. I went in there, Greenhorn. I learned a lot. Mrs. Hageman said last night she went 25,000 miles. I went 32,000 miles. I went from Gillette, Wyoming, all the way to Yellowstone National Park, paid $25 and spoke for 3.5 minutes. That was it. So I know about Wyoming. I've seen her. And you know what? It thrilled me to beyond belief because there's so many unsung heroes. So when I got home, I said to myself, what could you have done better? Well, I made a task, condition, and standard that I had to follow. That task was to learn Wyoming politics inside and out. I did it. It's taken me 16 years. I ran 14 times in Carbon County in the primaries, from city council all the way to the Senate. 3 different parties, Republican, Democrat, and Independent. I've done that. I was also appointed 2 years at the city council at the lowest level, so I've seen it. It's taken me 16 years to get back up here. I'm well honed, and I know what I've heard and what I've seen, and I think I can do the job. But as far as a job, no. It's an opportunity. Ken Casner still cares. He wants to bring you back, the people back, to the office of the governor.
Mr. Casner, what's your vision for the state of Wyoming?
Oh, that's the easiest one of all. It's called CARES. Ken Casner still cares. Each letter is 5 goals. First goal is I will compromise. That's a given. Second goal is A, I will take action. The next one is resolve. R, my resolve is steadfast. If you haven't noticed, I've done 16 years of it. And E is empowerment. Empowerment means I want to empower the people, not rule the people, not govern. And finally, S, I'll strive for solutions. I won't give you illusions, and I'll represent everybody in Wyoming, not the few.
If elected, what are your priorities for your first 100 days in office?
Well, that's the biggest mistake everybody makes. What is the priority? You don't walk into a military installation, you don't walk into a business and change everything overnight. That's a fallacy. What you do is you come in and evaluate people. You look around. I'm going to create the we division in the executive branch. We the people. I will look at people that want to go out and find out what the people really want. Then they'll come back and report to me. Leadership to me means this: listen, explain, actions, and decisions. That's what leadership is. And the only way I'm going to achieve that leadership is by one simple word in the purest form of a leader. Will you follow me? That's the purest thing. If you choose not to follow me, doesn't matter how much money I spend or where I spend it, you won't choose me. It's the purest form. And that's why I think it's important that we do what we are doing today.
Let's dig into some issues a little
Okay.
bit. The first one is, what do you plan to do with current Governor Matt Mead's Endow initiative? Is it important to you? If so, why? And if not, why not?
It's important to me in a different limelight. He uses Endow. I'm going to change it. It's going to be every new decision offers Wyoming opportunity. It's not going to be based on one specific energy thing. We've got to look past the box. We've got to get out there. We've got to grab what we got, and we're forgetting about that. We have such vastness, such beauty, such great things that we can offer: solar, wind, natural gas, coal, everything. We've got it. We just don't take hold of it.
Would you keep the structure that Endow has now, or would you completely change the organization? What are your thoughts about that?
That's a good question. I know Mr. Dallin says he doesn't like the Wyoming Business Council. Believe it or not, in 2002 when I ran, I was for sunsetting that baby, and I was a businessman. However, the sun never set on the Wyoming Business Council. Now we have Endowed. So what are we going to do with it? Do I want to set the sun on Endowed? No. What I want to do is change it. What I want to do is say, okay, we're endowed now. We got opportunity. Let's go for it. Let's just not make it specific. And be honest, I served 3 years on the Wyoming Business Council in Carbon County. And I can tell you a story about that, but it'd take you longer than 2 minutes. Because basically, we had an opportunity. We had an opportunity for mass transit. Had a bus line coming. It would have went through all of Carbon County, took our people to Rawlins, done a lot of things for our people. However, politics rose its ugly head. And that's all I'm going to say.
Some experts believe it's not possible to successfully diversify the state's economy without changing its tax structure. Do you agree with that? And if so, what changes do you propose?
Okay. You have to change it. You have no options. This was a perspective I did in 2002, and it's called the service tax. And it was written by this newspaper. And basically what it says is the service tax is Wyoming people, you go around and ask them, day in, day out, you ask them the following question: what's the leading industry in Wyoming? And they'll come right back at you and go, coal, gas, oil, ba, 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 ba. Well, guess what? That's not true. The largest industry in Wyoming is the service industry. It provides everything. Then the second industry, believe it or not, you want to cut government? You can't. Second largest industry, we've got so much government, it's pathetic. The third thing is tourism, then coal, gas, and oil, and everything else down below. Now let me give you an example of the service industry. The service industry, my oil pump and my water pump in my boat didn't work. I called a dealership up in Casper, said, how much would it cost me to change my oil or my water pump in the lower unit? Guy says, $400. I'm like, $400? Yeah, $400. I said, my God. So I said, put me to the parts department. Put me over to the parts department. How much does the part cost? $41.55. Where's Wyoming taxed? $41.55. It's not taxed on the $400. And if you look at the service industry all the way through it, semis crash on the interstate. 11 semis crash. You know what they get for a semi crash? To tow companies to come and pick it up? They can refute it if they want to. But they get as much as $50,000 for one truck. $50,000? Think about it. It is a bunch of money. All I proposed was the following thing. I don't know if I'll get to read it, but it says, start the process of growth in Wyoming. It will take the combined efforts of Wyoming residents to support and embrace the change and the courage from our legislators to grow towards a new frontier in funding for Wyoming. It will also take a bipartisan approach and teamwork to accomplish the new legislation. And to tell you the truth, what's Ken Casner? Yep, Ken Casner. I'll cut it short. Well, what I'd like to say is make it like the Permanent Mineral Trust Fund. Run it for 10 years, invest, get all your investments in one order, and then start branching it out. You'd be amazed at what you could do.
How would you help guarantee stability and funding for local governments, cities, towns, and counties?
Well, there's 99 communities in Wyoming, and the governor's a spokesman for the people. And so basically, can I do that? No. I can tell you what General MacArthur said. General MacArthur told the world, there is no security. There's only opportunity to take advantage of yours. There's only opportunity in Wyoming if they take advantage of it. What they should be doing is screaming. They should be coming up to everybody and saying the following thing. Why do we have the WHAM? Why do we have all these associations when it's our own money? I mean, why do we? County commissioners have to come and ask for money. We elect people to office to represent the people. Let's start representing the people. We don't have to do all that. And they're special interest. They're going to stand there and scream and lobby. That's the problem. I think there is no stability there. I live in a community that's 109 years old. You know what I do every winter? I cut 17 cords of wood and put it in my boiler in the basement. It's a 1929 boiler. You know why I do that? It's because I can't heat it. And yet I'm 2.4 miles from 6 major gas lines, natural gas lines, that I can't get service to. But I'll tell you that later if we keep on going. That's my 2 minutes, I think.
Recent reports indicate fewer U.S. utilities are using coal for power generation due to the abundance of natural gas and renewables. With this decline in coal's domestic use, do you support the continued investment in the coal industry and new technology?
Well, I'd have to ask the Wyoming people the following question. And I'd ask them the question, if you had 50 cents in your pocket and it went to 40 cents, then it went to 20 cents, then it went to 10 cents, would you still invest? That's the question. You wouldn't. So basically, how do we help the coal industry? We've got to look for some things. We're not going to let it die. I don't think anybody's going to let that happen. But we have to look at investments and other things in what can help us. One guy that did it was in Boone Pickens in Texas. He walked in there with 64,000 megawatts of energy. Today, he has 640,000 and growing. Did Texas help him out? Sure did. They helped him out all the way. But then Texas got smart. You know what they said? Game over. Now you're starting paying. That's all Wyoming has to do. Game over. You're going to start paying. Once you get your infrastructure in, get your stuff up, we'll take hold. And the people will take hold. Not me. The people.
Mr. Casner, where do you stand on regulating and taxing renewable energy production such as wind and solar?
Well, I pretty much got that. I stand for once there. It's really simple. If you build a business, you stand by your business. You have to. I did it in Elk Mountain with 191 people. I paid it off last June 2017. 191 people. That's all I have. What creates the business? People on the interstate. However, what else creates business in Wyoming? These wind energy companies. What we should be doing is saying, okay, come on, put your infrastructure. Don't stop there. Don't stop there. Go another step. Bring your manufacturing for the blades. Bring all the other stuff into it because it's going to save them money too. So basically, we just diversified, did we not? I'll give you a good example. Right here in this town 2 years ago, I was standing in my ice cream counter. A guy from Ireland comes in. He says, I'd like double scoop. I looked at him and said, are you on holiday? He says, no, I work in Wyoming. I went, what? I work in Wyoming. I said, where do you work? Cheyenne. What do you do in Cheyenne? Well, I'm an operator. Operator on what? I didn't even know. He says, well, the new natural gas power plant in Cheyenne. I said, are you kidding me? No. Black Thunder, if I'm not mistaken. And then he says to me, he says, well, I said to him, I said, how long have you been an operator? I'm thinking like 2 years. He's been an operator in Ireland for 13 years. He came to the United States because they needed operators to run a new natural gas plant. Well, think of young adults that could be doing it in Wyoming. Think about the people. We could do stuff like that. And is it good? Yeah, because he said something that really blows everybody away. He said, you know, in Ireland, we have wind and we have methane, but we don't have the sun. You people do. I'll just leave it at that one.
What are your thoughts on climate change, Mr. Casner? And as governor, if you're elected, what are your plans to address it in Wyoming?
Climate change. Well, as the governor is a reactionary guy for the people, basically. The people are going to tell him what he wants, what he has to do. The governor has $250,000 to $300,000 in emergency fund, basically. So who do we rely on? Well, when Mount St. Helens blew in Washington in 1980, in the state of Washington, and it blew, it shot ash all around the world. Who tracked it? Scientists. Who told us where it was going to come? Scientists. They all told us. Could we stop it? No. We had to react to it. So the same thing is here. If the people in Pinedale, for example, say, Jesus, we're dying. Our ozone's going. We can't breathe. We can't do anything. We have to react to that. We have to go and say, we have to do something. You got to think about one thing. The people who control the EPA and whoever do anything are the elitist industry in the United States, one of them. $10 billion plus. And basically they come. The director in 2002 was the EPA CEO at one time. So when he gets into that office, what do you think he's going to do? Same thing's happening today. What do you think they're going to do? Okay? So we have to react. We have to stay Wyoming. Wyoming has to stay in her. We have the people. We have the representatives. They should start representing their people. 540,000 isn't a turnout of 63,000. They have to vote. They have to get out there.
As Governor, Mr. Casner, how would you address education funding challenges that the state faces?
Right here, service tax. I would say service tax, put it in a permanent trust fund called the RAP, the Wyoming Regrowth Program, and put it in there. You already have the rules in place for permanent mineral trust fund. What did you think Stan Hathaway did way back when? He said, by God, we're going under. We got to do something. So he created the mineral trust fund. Now we know we're put all our eggs in one basket, and they dropped out, and Humpty Dumpty isn't going to come back together again, is he? So basically what we have to do is we have to think of a new impress fund, the service tax. Every business, including this business, trains her. Everybody trains somebody. Even in the restaurant industry that I have, the little cafe, we like our little ladies to come in and learn. That's the first stepping stone. I'm a business owner. I'd pay 3% or 2%. I wouldn't go over the tax ratio of the state of Wyoming. Wyoming says you can't get any more taxes than 3%. Well, 2%. Put it away. 2% of everything we do goes into an impress fund. So that, and then that fund is utilized. It could generate elderly care. It could generate medical care. It could generate education. Education flows according to the boom and the bust. You make it steady, you keep it steady. You solve the problem. Because we're all going to live here. We're all going to breathe here. And hopefully I get to die here.
How big of a priority would it be for you to improve broadband internet access across the state? And if it's important to you, how would you make it happen?
Broadband was first addressed in 2002 when we ran the first time. It was to gain access along the right-of-way. The big trunk lines wanted their own right-of-way. Well, after every trunk line went through, there's the little trunk lines that come, and they go to every community. There's 99 communities in Wyoming. Here's the problem, though. Wyoming doesn't take care of her infrastructure. She doesn't do much for any of her infrastructure. She takes care of the big boys. She needs to start taking care of the little people. She needs to start saying, for example, we have natural. I got them to come down as a city councilman. I hounded them for 6 months. Source Gas came out of Casper, came down, and they went out on a tour. And I'll never forget this as long as I live. The vice president from Omaha, Nebraska gets out, grabs that phone that she's recording me on, and goes taking pictures right where I live. And I'm going, where's an elk? Where's the bull elk? Where's the deer? Where's this? And I said, what are you taking pictures of? And he looked at me and he says, I have never in my entire life seen such a right-of-way. There are 6 major gas lines coming right by here. And there's a power line that goes through here that's supplying the country too. I've never seen it. I wanted to take pictures of it. I went, really? I said, we can't even get it 2.4 miles away. And yes, I've talked to my representative, Senator Hicks. I went through all that. I can tell. I won't tell him because he's running for office, but I didn't like his answers, nor did I like his follow-up because he didn't represent the people. He represents something else.
Mr. Casner, how would you address challenges related to providing health care to all Wyoming residents?
Well, we had that opportunity in 2010 through 2016. We had it all the time, but we kept refusing it because we didn't like what the government was saying to us. If the government said, here, I'll give you $540 million, but you can refuse it any time you want, what would you think I'd do? I'd take the $540 million and I'd use it. What got me back into all this again, actually in 2014, I was kind of fed up with the whole system, just like she says. Sometimes it's fed up. And basically I walked away. In 2014, when our legislature walked out and said, we ain't doing it, 4,000 people can take a hike, that turned me right on again. It lit the flame in me like a flamethrower. And basically I said, that's not representation. That's not the way it's supposed to be designed. So what am I going to do for health care? Again, we could use something like this. We could make it steady. Everybody dies. Everybody gets sick. Everybody works. Everybody does something. And yeah, they'll say, well, he's a socialist. No, I'm not. I'm a Wyoming guy. And I think Wyoming people should take care of Wyoming people. Our indigenous tribes do it. The Shoshone take the Arapaho, the Indians all throughout history took care of their own people. Why can't we? It's our state. Why can't we take care of our own people? From the lady who works behind the cash register at $14 an hour. And here's an example of taking care of her people. Just happened to me 2 days ago. Rollins, walking down the street, asked the lady, how long have you been behind this cash register in this gas station? She says, 10 years. I says, what's your pay? $14.44 an hour. I said, does that help you? No. Boy, then she raised up like this, and she looked at me, and she said, I'm a single mother. I have 3 children. I can't make it, so I got 2 jobs. She says, don't you even go in there in medical with me. I'm not going. And she says, I'm out here working. I'm busting my butt, and I'm doing everything. And guess what? I can't make it because I make too much money. I can't qualify for any programs. Bingo. We need to look at that.
If a marijuana legalization bill passed the Wyoming legislature and came to your desk, would you sign it, Mr. Casner? Why or why not?
Well, first of all, last night was kind of comical that they did in Sheridan because some people are adamant about having it. I personally look at it from a different way. I had a friend, 3rd grader here in Cheyenne. First time I ever met the man, he had polio. He's on crutches and canes. As he grew older, he got done with that. He had spina bifida in his back, S-curve. They went in and cut him open in the 8th grade and put all kinds of hardware in him. Look, I call him the walking junkyard. And basically, as he gets older, I even have him in my ankle right now. And basically, they cause you pain. So he'll actually look at you and smile and say, yeah, I smoke it. But why does he smoke it? It relieves the pain. I think that there's a lot of things that it has its purpose for, and it hasn't. That's me. Just me. I don't want, but if the people of Wyoming say, we put it out on a referendum that says you want to legalize marijuana, and they say, yeah, we do, and 85% of them say they do, then we'll legalize it. I'll sign it. If they say, no, we won't, and they're 75% against 45 or 50%, then I won't. That's the governor's role. He's just a spokesman for the people. I can't make that decision for the people. The people have to make that decision.
What if it's not a public referendum, though? What if it's just a bill that works its way through the legislature? Is that the same?
Well, if they're doing their way they're supposed to be doing it, that's everybody in the, we've forgotten that. The guy who you elect to be a state representative 2 years, or the person that's in the Senate, he's supposed to go around and ask all the people in his county, isn't he not? They don't do that. I'm going to tell you, representation in Wyoming is a myth. It's my book, and I've walked it for 16 years. So basically, if it comes up there, yeah. If it gets through that and it goes to the floor, and everybody says yeah, and I don't hear the people getting on the phone lines and it drives me out the office, then it's a done deal.
Okay. What do you think of the current way liquor sales are handled in Wyoming, and if you think it needs to change, how so?
Well, I'd like some clarification because that's kind of broad. Can you give me a specific on that? What do you mean by that?
Well, the state heavily regulates liquor sales through the Wyoming Liquor Commission, and also controls the number of permits that each municipality has for liquor licenses, and that has caused the value of liquor licenses to go up tremendously to where they're worth several $1,000s on the open market. Do you think that needs to change, or is it so more of a free market system, or continue to be heavily regulated?
Well, I'm a small businessman. In Elk Mountain, I had a liquor license for 20 years. I gave it up last year. And the reason I did that is don't take it away from the state of Wyoming as far as sales and distribution. Do not do that. Leave it in the Liquor Commission. Let them distribute. Because then you're going to get the wolves. And the wolves are the big corporations. They're going to come in and undercut every small businessman in Wyoming. they're going to take them out. What I don't like, what needs a revision, is the liquor license. You're absolutely correct. I hate that thing. Every year I'm asked to renew it. Every year I have to publish in the paper. Every year I had to do that. And last year, what really got my cush and my tush is because the city municipality came in and said, we're raising your liquor license $200. I said, what are you going to do with $200? We don't care. We can do it. That's not the approach. That's ruling. That's not representation. If you're going to raise a liquor license on people, you need to tell them how you're raising it and why you're raising it. They didn't do that with me in Out Mountain. That's a given. I'll stand toe-to-toe with them right across the street. The other thing about it is yes, the liquor license is a huge investment. But let me ask you a question. Back in the 1800s or back in the 1900s when there was no such animal, why do we even have it? I mean, why do we have it? Because it's a guaranteed impress fund for the cities. And that's not the way it should be. They generate money. They generate sales tax. They generate everything back into the community. Yet you still ask them for a liquor license every year. And then you have to pay $65 to get it published. Then you get $200. And you know what I've been told? And it's still been told from a friend of mine. Everybody else did it, so we can too. That's not the way it should be done.
Mr. Casner, how important is providing commercial air service to Wyoming communities? And if it's important, how would you help make it happen?
Well, I have to agree with Mr. Dallin on this one because I did that airplane. Believe it or not, I worked on that airplane. When I first went in the Army National Guard, we had a U-6 Beaver, a little fixed-wing aircraft. We flew the governor around. He didn't take it very much because it was a rough-riding son of a buck. However, then we went into better aircraft and better things. The next thing we got was a C-12. And it was twin engine, and it flew him around. Now we went to a U-21, twin turboprop. That's when I left. Now you got jets? Well, I hate to tell you, boys, you just inflated your old government all the way up the chain. What you do need to do is say the following thing. The governor has the options, he or she, to fly anywhere in the state. You know who does that option? The Wyoming Army National Guard. You can get on the CH-64 helicopter and he can fly anywhere he wants to go. I did it.
Just to clarify, we're not talking about the governor flying around the state, but for commercial air service, how important?
Commercial air
How
service.
important is it for places like Cheyenne to have commercial air service available in their communities?
Well, I took that at contents. I apologize.
Clarify, yeah.
That'll get Mr. Dillon happy. However, the thing about it is that in our 99 communities, it's no different than 74 dumps. Remember what happened there? 74 dumps, waste management dumps were around the state. All of a sudden, the state committee comes in and says, according to APA, we got to get rid of them all. So we centralized 4 of them. Now we have 5, Laramie, Casper, one up in Sheridan, one all over. And basically, I guess you'd have to ask the municipalities which 5 locations you want. Does the state have to support it? Is it really a state function to support it? I don't think so. It should be a lobbying system or something for the municipalities to get together and say, here we are, Evanston through this area, we want one here. Here we are in the northern part. The state's not supposed to stabilize your life. It's supposed to support your life. And you, the people, will determine how that is done.
What's your position on gun control measures to protect citizens in public venues? Do you believe locations like the University of Wyoming and large events like Cheyenne Frontier Days have the right to impose rules that limit a citizen's right to carry a loaded firearm?
Well, let's put it this way. The venues are no different than any other business. The venues are a business. So basically that business determines what it wants to provide security and safeguards supposedly for the people within inside the room. Yeah. What would you do with, I had a friend ask me just the other day, well, you can't stop a rodeo. Well, no, you can't. But think about 1976. 1976 in Wyoming, the National Guard was called to the Pelpiaga River in Lander. What for? The Rainbow family living life. There were 5,000 of them people up there. And basically what happened was, I can still remember the mayor of Lander. She came running across the flight line, ran right out to the helicopter, and she says, "Where the hell's the rest of the guard?" I looked at her and said, "Bev, you need to go talk to Colonel Boyer. He's right over there." So she went over and talked to him. Of course, the people were coming into town. They were taking, stealing stuff, undressing in the laundry rooms, doing all kinds of stuff that they weren't supposed to do. We didn't bring the National Guard in. Didn't have to. The local law enforcement handled it rather well, and I think the people did rather well. And basically, what I'm saying about that is Wyoming gives them the right to carry their guns, puts them underneath that. Think about back. What did they do even when they didn't have the government doing it? Guy come through the bar doors, opened it up, and he says, "Well, boys, I'm going to take a drink." "No, you're not. Go over there and check your white gun in over there." That's all they said, was go check your gun in. The same thing happens here. If you want security, you have to give. Security is a deterrent. That's all it is. I hate to say this. I'm for the Second Amendment. I think that's the dumbest argument I've ever seen. And so basically, yeah, if they want to go to the Denver Broncos game, go to the Rockies games and walk through the gates. You walk through with a metal detector. Same thing could be set up even in a rodeo ground. You put the National Guard around it. You set up a security system. They say, "Go, your rodeo ground." But you have to get the governor's approval. And that's the people. And all they have to do is ask.
Okay. What's your position on the transfer of federal lands to the state and management of those lands?
Well, that's, it's amazing. But Wyoming doesn't own that much state land. They don't. And yet we are in charge of the greatest gift America's ever given its people. And that's all that public land. That's our greatest gift. It's the American Land Act. Now, if the Congress of the United States and all the legislatures throughout the United States take a 2/3 and revoke that law, then we could get it back. But I kind of consider myself one of the best privileged caretakers in Wyoming history, because I've had the opportunity to go everywhere in this state I want to go. However, now you're seeing a different cat come. That cat's called the elite. And that elite is going to buy up Wyoming. It is shrinking. And by it being shrunk, you lose public. You lose public lands. So basically now you're asking the question, can the state afford to buy it? Can the state afford to fight forest fires? Can the state do all that? You've forgotten. The BLM only makes $79 million a year. That's all the Congress appropriates. $46 million of that dollars is going for administration. These people work very good for Wyoming, and they're very good people in Wyoming. And all we need to do is strengthen them a little bit, and I think we, the people, should support them even greater. Because it's our land. You can't tell a guy from Florida he can't come up here. He can come here. I see it every year, elk hunting. I see them with their GPSs now, walking around.
Mr. Casner, if elected, how do you plan to work with and communicate with the press, with legislators, and with citizens?
Okay, the press. First of all, thank you very much for having me here today.
You're welcome.
I'm very honored to be here. And the reason I say the press is important, I wish Wyoming had open primaries, but we don't. So basically, I'm talking to all you Democrats out there. However, here's the thing. If you don't get the voice out, if you don't have the information, you can't react to it. I was taught disinformation. I was taught propaganda. I taught it. Yeah, there's fake news and everything, but the press has to go back. The press has to go back to investigative reporting. It has to be detailed. It has to do its research. It has to come forward and forget about the personal life of the person, because if the people that want to look at it and they want that person, they're going to follow. Otherwise, they're not. We're seeing it today. Even with the President of the United States, we're seeing it. However, I plan to work with the press. The press is always welcome through my door in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If I'm elected, if the people say I am, that's no problem with me. I think we should be more transparent. We're not as transparent as we think we are. Okay. How will I work with the legislature? Now that's a different cat. That's a different cat altogether. So I'll just go back to the basic thing with that. I didn't like what they did to Cindy Baldwin. I thought that was the worst thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And that's because this thing right here, Wyoming Constitution says that person was elected by the people. That person serves that term through the people. It is not the responsibility of a committee to tell us what we're going to do. That's not their job. Next thing is, the legislature orchestrates every bill. They take it, they put it through committees throughout the state, they bring it back, they gather them up. Then there's two people, and I ran against one of them, Eli Bebout, and the other one is Steve Harmson. They arrange it. They bring it forward. Oh, I wish I could go further on this. But they bring it forward. And basically when they bring it forward, they bring it in, and some bills never get introduced. And if you look at the legislative service, you'd be amazed at what doesn't get introduced. And they're good bills, and they could work for people in Wyoming. As the governor will say finally, at the last of the thing, if I'm there, the buck stops here. Harry S. Truman said it. And I like Truman. He's my mentor. And basically, the people get their answers. I work for the people. I'm their spokesman.
Mr. Casner, what other topics or issues would you like to address that we haven't covered yet today?
Well, we did cover it a little bit. It's corner crossing, public access. Why I say Wyoming's shrinking is because if you look at what's happening around Wyoming, the only non-renewable source we have is this table. It's a big chunk of land. If I buy this big section of land and I buy that big section of land and I surround it, all that public land is disappearing. We've had that on the books since 2002. We've had eminent domain, we've had public access, we've had it all on the books, and nobody wants to take it by the bull by the horns. Well, tell you the truth, if the people of Wyoming, all the people say, I want to go where I can go, then we should be able to. The problem is the corner. How do we get past that corner? If two public sections are exactly the same and they're touching tip to tip, I even had Senator Hicks tell me this, and I'm going to relay it right on this thing. He said, Casner, you can't cross corner to corner. Your big gut will go into their airspace. I went, really? My shoulders in airspace? Forget that noise. That's bogus. I personally would like to have a 28 or 29-inch circle that you could go walk across and go in there. If it means a stylist over the top of the fence, you walk over that fence. You can't drive your ATVs. You can't do all that other stuff. But I'm saying I lost Wyoming. I've lost a lot of Wyoming, and I don't want to lose no more of it. I want public access.
Any other issues?
Any other issues? You know, the biggest issue is, for me, why I'm here today, is my biggest issue of all. We, the people, have given up our voice. We, the people, don't speak anymore. We're silent. And that's due to apathy, complacency, and compliance. And I've watched it for 16 years. Hell, we're going silent because of that. We should go into my restaurant in 1998. I had people sitting around talking, laughing, joking. Now I see them this. We've not only gone silent in public, we've gone silent in our representation. I want it back. That's my biggest issue. And the only way you're going to get it back is, will you follow me? If you don't, well, I guess somebody else gets the torch.
We're a quarter to the hour. I'd like to give the Facebook Live audience a chance to ask their questions. So, Katie, what do we have from our live audience?
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Please continue to comment your questions as we continue to do this. The first question comes from Marie Peterson, and it's kind of related to something that you talked about before. Marie, we did talk about the legalization of cannabis earlier in the interview, but she would like to also know about legalizing the growth of industrial hemp. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I have to say it honestly. If it's a cash crop and the people of Wyoming want to grow it, why can't they? I mean, it has properties that people don't look at. It has a property you can make straws out of it. I sell straws. I throw plastic straws away. I'd much rather throw hemp straws away because they'll be biodegradable. They won't hurt our environment. They won't hurt Wyoming. I see other things like, okay, hemp can do a lot of it can take, I hate to say it, but the oil industry doesn't like it because there's a lot of possibilities with hemp that manufacture like plastic bottles that you can throw away. These things take 100 years to dissolve. Hemp bottles maybe can't hold the water as good, but you can drink it faster. And basically you throw it away, and guess what? It'll deteriorate. Them are the properties I want. I think Wyoming people deserve to take care of their land. We're entrusted to it.
Great. And folks, please continue to comment if you have any more questions. I'm going to borrow one from an earlier interview that I think a lot of the candidates have touched on, and that is, what do you see the state's role being in attracting more young people to the state, and how would you propose that happen?
Well, one of the things that all the young people are looking for, we have young Democrats, and they can know us in about 15 minutes. They've got all the data, and they can access data faster than anybody else, and we're ignoring them. The young people have a right to speak too, and that's how you attract young people, is because you give them the courage to come out and take an adventure, go into the new frontier. Wyoming's a frontier. We need to get it back to a frontier, and that means give the young people a voice, give the young people a chance to do something. How do I attract young people here? The service industry tax can say the following thing to young people: you want to come to Wyoming and get an education? You got it. You got it tomorrow. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to go back and you're going to go into paying us back. How do you pay it back a student loan that's $150,000? You can't. How do you get a teacher to pay back a $70,000 loan? You can't. They have to work 6 years before they can even pay it back. God, we should be saying, yeah, come on in. We'll give you the education. We've got the funding to do it because we're regenerating growth in our city. A young lady such as yourself comes to Wyoming. She sits there. She's got 5 years. All of a sudden, she meets the love of her life. Guess what I got? I got a family. I got growth. I've got a regenerated Wyoming.
Okay. Do you guys have any other questions?
Question follow-ups from the intro board?
Wow. Come on, give me some shots. I'm ready. I like them free-handed. You got one, I know you do. Your body language tells me you do.
Mr. Casner, we really appreciate you being
All
here
right.
today. Thank you for joining us. Thanks to the online audience, and just a reminder that Wyoming's primary election is Tuesday, August 21st. Absentee voting starts next Friday, July 6th, a week from this Friday.
Can I say one thing
You
here?
bet.
Last night they all told you on the thing, it's the 6th, get out and vote. That's true. But I'll ask you one question for me, just as a guy that walked 16 years and did it all. Know your candidates. Study your candidates. Listen, look, and then vote. Because you only have one choice. That choice is yours.
Hopefully this helps a little bit. Thank you for
You
being
betcha.
here. We really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
All righty. Well, I hope I did okay.